right. Got a little nice game here. See how it works. I don't think letting me get R17 is the best of moves. That move I don't really get. I think I'm just going to connect. That's definitely not good. Letting me get the Hane there and then letting me extend this way. This is definitely White's advantage. There's not that much territory down there. That's also just a bad move. I probably shouldn't have even responded to that. I'm just going to take the bottom territory because it's actually worth quite a bit. That doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to come up. It's actually like, these are like really bad moves. You really got to think about you really got to think about your shape. This is dead, by the way. You really gotta you really gotta think about your shape when you're making these moves. Like this is just lack of any kind of calculation when you're actually moving. Obviously, you don't play that out. I'm just going to attack him this way. It's very hard for him to get out of this. And I don't really mind if he actually does. Because I can just take the bottom territory while attacking him. I could Hane, but then he could Hane over. So I'm essentially just going to do this right now. I'll take the bottom territory while attacking this group. I don't have to kill him. And in fact, I don't really care too much about killing him or not at this point. Like I'm very, very willing to just take the bottom territory while he runs this group. See, I'm not even going to Hane, I'm just going to do that. He's giving me an immense amount of bottom territory on the bottom. He's giving me an immense amount of, I probably shouldn't have done that, but like he's giving me an immense amount of territory on the bottom while leaving this group very, very weak. So like this is why I teach people like you don't really have to kill stuff. I mean it's great if you do, but you don't really have to kill anything. You honestly don't have to kill anything to actually have a successful attack. And being overly aggressive on every single move is just generally not a great idea. Like, I'm not even trying to kill him on here. I'm okay with just kind of like, you know, getting this territory. That was probably a bad move by me, by the way, but I'm perfectly fine with just getting this territory down here. Because in the end, he doesn't really have anything. Now, I have a problem up here, obviously, but in the end, he really doesn't get anything. And I got all this territory. And the question later on will be like, how is Black going to make any territory to compensate for what he lost? How is Black going to make any territory to compensate for the losses? just going to go this way and then kill this. I'm not going to bother to answer that. This is much bigger. I can just go straight down. Because, like, I think his last bastion of hope, that's actually a bad move. I do actually think his last bastion of hope is to get, like, some territory of here, because he's already given up so much down here and so much over here. Now, given, like, neither of us actually did much thinking in this game, but this is, like, the reflexive difference between, like, our feel for the game. I'm just going to do this. He is going to destroy the... Well, he should have came down, actually. Like, if you're going to do this, you're going to... The point is to actually sacrifice this down here to break my territory down here. Do this first so he doesn't come here. He's really actually got no real answer for a lot of this stuff. Because, like, there's essentially no territory in here anyways. There's essentially no territory in here. That group is alive, by the ways. I made a mistake there. Oh, well, now it's dead, but it was alive. I should have gone this way, but realistically it doesn't matter since that group is, like, dead now. I'm going to connect this because if he goes here, that's problematic for me. Just to fix this, just in case anything bad happens. This actually is really big right now. That really isn't, but this actually is. Also, yeah, I forgot about something. He's going to end up having this whole thing die if he doesn't be careful. Oh, by the way, this is dead. I just haven't played it yet. At this point, I think all of this is dead. I'm just going to go ahead and kill this. Because he can't really do anything there anyways. Do this first. He takes, and then you do this, and he can't connect. You honestly could have just done this as well. Like, and I mean, like, playing on instinct against a stronger player is just not going to work. You do really have to think about your moves if you're playing against a much stronger player, because instinctually, I'm just going to be much better than him overall. Like, playing instinctually, like, I'm just gonna be much. My feel for the game is just gonna be much better than his. He needs to be careful here as well. Otherwise, he might not be alive. Because this whole thing doesn't really have eyes. I think he's actually dead. He doesn't really have eyes here. He needed to do this first. I don't need to do this, but I'm going to fix this. I'm pretty sure all of this is like dead right now. But just to be sure, I'm going to Atari this, because if I do that, I know that's dead. I don't know why you connected that. That doesn't... And then you just do this. I mean, that's not a real eye, but if you do this, all of this is dead. And that's also pointless. Definitely things you have to watch out for. There's no eyes there. I can just take this. Most of the stuff I don't even really need to respond to. It doesn't really matter what he does down here. I mean, when you do moves like this, generally you have to have a plan. Just randomly moving is not going to improve your chances for making eyes. It really isn't. That's pointless. I don't have to respond to that. I do have to watch out for this eventually. Actually, no. That's actually alive now. Oh, that's my bad. That's actually alive now. I screwed up on... No, I mean, now it's dead. But he could have actually came here. I don't know why you do that. It's obviously dead. There's nothing there. This is all dead as well. Like, there's legitimately no reason you would be doing that because you're just filling in points for the other person. Like, all of this is dead. When your group is dead and you're not making extra eyes, like, putting more stones in it generally doesn't help your cause. Like, putting more stones in my territory once something's already dead generally isn't going to help you. You need to you do actually need to look for mistakes like the one I made here because I'm playing kind of carelessly as well. Where like you can actually Atari here, I have to connect, and then you can actually make two eyes here. There's nothing here. He can't live. Look, I'm not going to mess up, and at this point, you should probably just resign because you're not. I'm really not going to mess up.
Pass.
You didn't really need to do that.
You have won.
Alright, so obviously the last 40 or so moves was kind of like nonsense in this game, but the thing is, like, playing reflexively against a much stronger player isn't really going to work. That's not generally good. I would definitely do this. No, I would definitely do this. I mean, you're still getting the corner here, and white's potential this way is severely limited by your 2 stones here, so I would definitely go under there. Letting me go under. This is just a bad move, by the way. It actually tightens your liberties. I'm not exactly sure how to respond to it. I probably should have done this. So if you Hane this way, I have a tiger's mouth. I think I probably should have done that, but I just connected. Either way, this trade and this trade is bad for black. Of course, I'm going to Hane there. You don't really need to connect that. I would probably just go somewhere. I would probably just do this at this point. And then letting me get this, obviously. This is better, much better for white. White gets most of the corner. Black is very flattened. There's not much territory there. And this side of any kind of like side, this moyo is kind of destroyed. So it's definitely much better for white. That is not going to be as big as something like this. Just go on the corners here. That's a bad move. I probably shouldn't have responded. That's also a pretty bad move. And of course, I'm just going to take the corner. Like, the thing is, this corner isn't solidified. My corners are pretty solidified. And you got a really small piece of territory here. I probably should have just done this. Either this or this. But I was greedy for the bottom territory, so I went ahead and took the bottom territory. That doesn't make any sense. If you want to build influence, you just do it this way. That's actually pretty good influence. And then you like would want to do something like this. And you can see like where this, but this has a problem that I can do this. You would actually have to give a lot of this up. You would have to give a lot of points on the side up to actually build this territory. So I don't really know if it's worth it or not, once again. It looks really big, but you've already given up 20 or 30 points on the bottom. So I'm not really sure if that's actually worth it or not at this point. But this particular move actually doesn't make any sense at all. It just creates another weak group for black. And of course, like, you know, you're just making your own groups like weaker and weaker. That obviously doesn't make any sense. And this playing it out is just worse. Like if you know you mess up in this situation, you basically just do this. And then just do something like this. And just cut your losses. Playing it out's like literally the worst thing you can do. And then of course, like, playing this out doesn't really make any sense. You know, I'm essentially just using this group. You see how I'm not forcing the issue? Because if he does this, I have to do this. And then extend out. And now that's hurting my bottom. You see how I'm not doing that? Like when he does this, I'm just like going on the bottom, getting this territory. And I'm just like kind of reacting to his moves right now. Like I'm just taking the territory as he goes along. So he's not gaining anything and I'm getting territory down here. So that's a big win for me. This is just sort of surrounding him. It's not really threatening him any. I have to repair this, otherwise it's problematic. At this point, he should definitely just do this. Let me have this territory, and then maybe like, you know, this is the way it would actually end up right now. But doing this and then doing this, letting me come out and then letting me have this obviously is worse. You're just giving me more territory. And you still have to repair a few things. That's not a good move by me. I should probably just do this at this point. I should either do this or just do this at this point. I was just greedy for more territory. So when you do this and I do this, you probably shouldn't respond. You should probably just do this. You respond, you let me get the Hane, you let me get the double thing. This was definitely overagreed by me. I should definitely just like do something like this right now. This is going to be bigger than this. Then that's kind of a weird attack. I mean, if you want to attack these stones, you would just jump. That's the way you would attack, because I would have to run. And then I'm running into where you're actually thick right now. So that's where you would actually attack. Like you need to actually look at critical points and how your opponent will respond before you attack. If you do this, I'm obviously going to just do this, and you have to extend out. Right? I mean, I can give you these 2 stones. It's not that big of a deal. There's ways for me to come out here. I mean, these 2 stones are big, sure. But the thing is, like, if I do something like this, I'm going to be pretty happy about it. Because like you don't have really a way to seal in all this territory. Like if you do this, I'm going to probably just do this, and then like, obviously this isn't really an option, because like you can only seal in this much territory, and plus you make this group pretty weak here if you try to like go all gung ho and try to get this territory. So it's very hard to seal in the middle territory. So realistically, I could just give up. I can just give up those 2 stones and grab the bottom. So that's obviously not a good move. Like I said, you want to attack the whole thing right now. So you would just do this, and you would attack the entire thing. Connect. That's just kind of weird. You're still trying to attack that. That's actually a pretty good move. I might just be better off doing this and letting him have this territory, because even black doesn't really have this bottom territory, even if I let him do that. I probably should have just done that, because I need to, like, because I'm ahead by so much, I need to ensure the safety of these stones. So when he does that, that's probably a bad move. I probably just need to do this or something, just to ensure the safety of my group here. I can just let him have that territory and then just come down here. That's not a big deal to let him have a little bit of territory. Like, the point of go is not to destroy all the territory of your opponent, it's just to have more points than your opponent. So I probably should have just done that to ensure the safety of my group. But I got greedy. I retreated. That's generally a bad move. Like in this case, you definitely want to do this. I would probably just do this though. And it would actually be pretty hard for you to kill me, because these 2 stones aren't that strong. But that would be a better resolve for black. Letting me Hane and then letting me connect. This is obviously a bad idea. The whole thing is like you're trying to get this territory up here, but there's so many problems with getting the territory up here. White can come in over here. White can jump in over here. White can jump in over here. Like all these stones would actually have to make black give. All these stones makes black like give up points in order to actually get his points. So those aren't very good. That's fine. I feel like this move isn't big enough right now. Like if your group's not under threat, you just do this. That's how you would enclose it. You would definitely enclose that side first. I would probably jump in this way at this point, but remember, you always have this move as well to kind of like disconnect me. As you always have that move first to kind of like disconnect me as black. So he does that. I'm gonna jump in because that kind of destroys his territory. Then this is the bigger territory right now that he can actually make. He does that. This is a bad move, because you need to do something like this to actually like try to defend as much of this as possible. There's really not much I can actually do. I mean, I guess there is here, because also the thing is, I have a problem too, because you have the P15 move. I would actually have a problem there as well, because you have P15. So I got to be careful about that too. So like this particular move would actually enclose this. So that's what you should actually do. If I do this, that's perfectly fine. You can just do this. And you can see you enclose this. I do this. You have options here actually. You could actually just like do this. And then like I would have to do this, and you can do this, and you can get at least some territory there. It wouldn't be enough for you to win at this point because you gave up too many points. So like letting me get the jump here and then letting me extend out is a huge, huge mistake, because that destroys any chance of territory you have here. And this obviously doesn't work because you can't do this. So yeah, that's just defeating that territory. So coming here, letting me connect, this is obviously the best move. You would definitely trade this as black. Maybe do something like this. You would definitely trade this as black. Like you basically destroy maybe 10 points down here in exchange for this, and that's a favorable exchange for black. That doesn't make any sense because yes, you protected this territory, but I protected the bottom territory and I destroyed your territory up here. So that's when you have to make the exchange. And plus, like, if I do like E12, that's always a thing. You can't wedge because if you wedge, I'm just going to take these two. And yes, you can probably get the territory up here, but like that's a huge loss for, that's actually a pretty big loss for black. But you know what? At this point, if I'm really trying to get this territory, I might just wedge. I might actually just wedge. Maybe do something like this. I might just do that because this territory here is pretty solid. I'd sacrifice a lot of points down here, but at this point, I think that's probably your best option. Because letting me do this like basically destroys all of your territory and you don't really have anything left. And at this point, it's like killing this group, that's all secondary. I'm already ahead by 70 points, so it doesn't really matter. Those are just like bad calculation errors. So I will actually play another game. 5 to 12Q. I've actually lengthened my... how difficult was the transition from 9K to 1D? I actually played a lot of games with my dad. My dad's like a 6-dan Chinese amateur. And it probably took me like a year, maybe a year and a half to get from like 10K to 1D. I didn't play with him on a daily basis. We played maybe like 2 or 3 games a week. And it was just like these kind of teaching games that we played. So, but I was also like 10 years old then, so I probably could learn a little bit faster than I could now. Like getting from 9K to 1D is actually harder. It's actually easier than going from like 1D to 3D. Also, like if I really tried, I could probably get up to like 3 dans or 3 or 4 dan right now. I'm just like playing these kind of like fun teaching games. So, but from 9K to 1D, you can easily make that jump in a year if you're actually dedicated. And you actually just like look at games and you just like study games and AI reviews. It does help if you have someone explaining to you why things are actually happening though. But the transition from 9K to 1D is like a couple of things. Like you have to know how to use influence a little bit better. You have to understand trades a little bit better. And then of course you have to just get better at reading. And a lot of times it's just practice, like how many games you actually play. As you play more and more games, like you just get more used to like certain shapes. Like there's a lot of shapes I can tell that like, oh, that just by looking at it, like, oh, that's not going to work. That will work. You know, so it's a very different process. It's like a different way of thinking between 9K and 1 dan. Like a lot of lower SDKs and DDKs think like, oh, if he invades, I have to kill his group. That's not true. You don't have to kill him. You just have to get enough out of attacking him to actually make it worth it for you. Like when I was chasing the side group, I wasn't actually trying to kill the side group. I was just trying to get as much advantage as I could out of it. And I could easily get enough to actually win. It's like that kind of, that's the kind of thinking that you have to transition from like a Q player to a Dan player. Because like Q players often micro focus on like one area of the board. Whereas like Dan players kind of like are more likely to take a vision of the entire board and ask themselves like, do I have enough territory to win? Or do I actually need to do something drastic because I don't have enough territory to win? Because if you ask yourself, do I have enough territory to win? If the answer is yes, you don't really have to take that many risks. You just have to maintain your lead. You just have to play in a way that maintains your lead. You don't need to make desperate plays. So like if someone invades and you decide that invasion, if it's successful, will cost me about 15 points, your question should be like, can I get 15 or more points elsewhere from attacking this group? Because if you get more than 15 points for him destroying your 15 points, then that's a negative invasion for him and a positive invasion for you. So like that's the kind of thinking that you actually have to get to like maybe like a lower mid Dan level. And then like the rest of it, once you get to like the lower, maybe mid Dan level, like getting from like 3 Dan to 7 Dan is more like, you know, improving your reading skills, improving your reading and fighting skills, and like getting better in judgment calls. And that's where it gets really hard. That's where it actually gets really, really hard. So I'm going to wait until 4:50 if no one accepts my challenge. If someone accepts my challenge, I play another game. If no one accepts my challenge, I'm going to go run some errands and get some dinner because I'm hungry. But yeah, I'll give it like 4 or 5 more minutes for someone to accept my game challenge, because I will play one more game today. I should actually make a video. I should actually make a video on like I should actually make a video on like the whole thought process of getting from like Q to Dan, because I think that would be interesting to a lot of people. Because there are a lot of things I have to say about that, honestly. Like there are a lot of like things that I have to say about that to get from Q to Dan. Because I find a lot of people making the same mistakes over and over, and it's really hampering. It's actually really hampering their ability to actually get better. Sure, just I have
Game
the.
started.
All right, nice. I mean, like I will, and the thing is, like if you play me, it's not guaranteed. Like you're likely to lose, but it's not guaranteed that you'll lose. I have dropped these games before. Now, like one of the games, I think like that guy was obviously using like an AI because he was playing exactly like an AI for the second half of the game, and he actually gained on me the second half of the game, and that almost never happens. But like the other two games, I just messed up. Yeah, just turn off the stream for right now. You can listen to the stream afterwards. Uh, not. I mean, what I would do is like when you're playing me, you should turn off the stream, because if you're listening to the stream, a lot of times I'll explain what I'm doing and my thought process. So like it's more like me playing against myself. So you should actually turn off the stream. This is generally the right move on this kind. On this, in terms of responding to this, and this is the right. Um, this is actually the right Joseki. That's not part of the Joseki. Here, you definitely need to. Here, you definitely need to attack the stone. Letting me get this extension is bad because if you really think about it, black didn't get anything. Letting me get this extension. I would say that this is not ideal for him because the thickness, because I have these stones here, the thickness here and the thickness here may not get him much, and he already gave me the two corner territories. So that's like trading this move with this move is always generally a bad idea, because you're not getting too much off of this move. I can't cut you here anyways, and you're getting me more territory here. So these are some of the things that you do need to think about, because like this move, if I jump here, you're still pretty weak, whereas like I've already got the two corner territories. So you do need to start thinking about stuff like this, um, if you really want to move up from Q to Dan level play. This is probably not a great idea for me, by the way, is to do this Joseki, but whatever. This is the right way to play this Joseki, though. You wouldn't do that right now. You would definitely play, like, this isn't really that big. You would definitely play something like Q. You would definitely play Q14. That forces me to answer. Because, like, letting me do this flattens out your influence shape a lot, so not really the best. And there's very little territory down here because I can just fly up. So like letting me Hane this reduces the power of your influence by a lot. So that's why you actually should. That's why in the Joseki Q14 is pretty critical for black to play. So I'm actually going to fly. I'm actually going to come up here. It's a little bit of territory for me. It also breaks a little bit of his influence. The other options to play here are obviously for me E13 or E7. I think E13 is a little bit more crucial just because he has a structure over here, and you want to reduce the influence that he actually has. I mean, Black's not too far behind right now. Just only a couple points difference. This is pretty big for me, by the way. Like this, I'm choosing to do this because this is actually pretty big. I know you're getting influence up there, but this is like pretty big for me to do down here. This is also a test of like how well you can actually use that influence up there. See, that's not really all that helpful because if I do this, I'm putting pressure on these stones here, and if you Hane, I can just Tiger's Mouth. So this particular move isn't all that effective. Whereas whereas O 13 is effective, O 12 is not all that effective. By the way, it's because he did extend G16, there is a problem with this double Knights move. I'll show you guys later. If you play, well, actually, I'll tell you guys right now. If you play F18 and H18, I have a problem with this. I'm going to go ahead and pull down here because I am willing to trade this way out. Even though it is a little dangerous for me, I am willing to trade that way out. So the way you would play this is not a move I would recommend people do most of the time. You would actually play you could actually play H15 first. I have to connect. I actually do have to connect at J16. And then you would play F18. I would have to block, and then you would play H16, and then you can disconnect these three stones. Right now, I'm just going to keep attacking this group. This does look big. There is some points here, definitely. But I think this is more important right now. And this kind of like, I can just come in. I can just come in right now. I'm going to go up here too. I need to destroy this entire influence here. Because like if I destroy this entire influence, he doesn't have that much potential for territory, making like this whole side. Right, my goal's actually already been accomplished for the most part. I usually don't like invasions like this. Invasions like this, I'm just not a huge fan of. Yeah, that's like this is an easy way to let me live. So, um, and I like usually I would not do this because I usually would not do this by the ways because like at the beginning because I'm letting him have so much influence up here, but right now because I have this move, this influence doesn't really get anything, and I'm just taking his corner territory. So like this influence doesn't matter because I already came up over here, and there's very little he can do to stop me right now. So I can jump right here. This is fine. It's gonna go this way just in case, because like this cut actually becomes problematic after a while. Maybe. Right now it doesn't matter, I guess. Giving you a couple of points in here, but that's not really all that relevant. I'll split the points over here with him. It may not look like it, but white's actually ahead by a large amount right now. Because black essentially has no territory at this point. The other move, this cut I detailed is one that he could actually make right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this to block that out. I mean, he can still cut, but it wouldn't be all that effective now. Also, if he does this at this point, I could just play on the bottom. As long as I live this group down here, I have significantly more territory than he does. These couple of points in here don't really matter all that much. And plus I can just do something like this anyways. This move is very big. It's a lot of corner points there. I don't know if that's the correct move. I think I'm going to just jump. White doesn't have a huge group of territory, but just this territory, this territory, this territory, this territory, this territory, I'm probably up by like 30 points at this point. Oh wait, that was a bad move. Yeah. That was totally a bad move. So I probably have to connect this up here. Yeah, that was a bad move by me. Should have played here instead. No, you should definitely. That's a bad move. You should definitely take the stone. The stone here is going to be bigger than this. There's not really that many points in here, honestly. So like you're basically defending a couple points here. I think the stone is bigger than. I think this taking the stone is better than this. But I guess I haven't really calculated the points exactly, but I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. I doubt he can kill that. I mean, sure, can do that. Just gonna go ahead and make 2 eyes here. If he does that, I can just block. Although it might seem the center territory is really big, like um, getting like moves like these are going to be bigger than the center territory. You can still cut here, by the ways. Uh, yeah, you can still cut here, by the ways, if you do that, but it wouldn't actually amount to much right now. Not at this point. Just gonna fix this. I'm just gonna fix this issue. I don't think that actually serves much purpose. You get a couple points here, but that's about it. Just leave that alone. Can't do that. You know, like if I do this, I feel like that's a decent amount of points right there. Because I can still play R19. No, I can't play R19 anymore. He just played it, but that's fine. I don't think that's... I probably shouldn't have done that, but whatever. Yeah, this gives me free way to do this. The whole point of doing that was so I can get that. This is alive. So yeah, this is actually pretty big. Coming here would give him a lot of points this way. The other thing that's really big is for white to do this. This also has a hidden point in here because he has to fix this sooner or later. This whole thing in here is probably like 10, 12 points. So like technically like this bottom group is about this and this combined. then there's about 10 or 12 points he has in here. It's fine. So if you look at the center, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe like 13 points in here overall after all that work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe like 13, 14 points. Can't do that because that's Gote. That doesn't actually fix his problem in the end. He still has to repair this. I'm going to go ahead and do this. This is Sente. It's fine. This is a little more than 13, 14 now because he made that extra move. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, they're like 15 points maybe. So the margin of victory is essentially like this down here is about this plus this, maybe a little bit more. This down here is a little bit more than this, and then I win by this and whatever the heck's in here. Oh wait, I shouldn't have done that. My bad. It doesn't really matter, but it does not really matter, but I shouldn't have done that. You don't have to do that. I'm going to do this first because it's Sente now. Let me connect this. This is worth more than this push here. Also, A18 is worth more than C17. Because you see, like, I get these points here. If he does A18, I lose those 2 points there. So that's at least worth like 3 points there. Whereas this is maybe 1 or 2. There is one thing he needs to repair in here. It's like one more point that he needs to fill in. Yep, right now. He needs to fill in one right here. Otherwise, I'm going to take that stone. I mean, he could Ko, but there's no point in him fighting the Ko.
Pass.
Has to connect, then I can connect. Now there's no more points, I believe.
Pass. Remove the dead stones.
Margin of victory is a lot bigger than I thought, but still, I knew I had won by like 20 or 30. It didn't feel like I was ahead by 50. I would probably be ahead by like 45 if it wasn't for like maybe 40, 43 points if I wasn't for this. So let's actually go back and review this game because this was a full game where it didn't end in like 10 moves. So this is okay. This is perfectly fine. This is a regular Joseki. That is not a good move. You need to pincer this because the thing is that you're getting some influence here and you want to attack the weak stone here. If you do this and you let me get this, you essentially didn't get anything. Yes, you do have this in the future to build up your influence, but you know there's stuff wrong with that as well. So like letting me actually get this extension just leaves you with like kind of like an awkward group there while I get the corner and I get some of the corner on the side. So that's why this move isn't good. And you either do this move, you either play this move or you play this move. I myself prefer this one, but a lot of people do play this. Do this. So over on this side, this one isn't quite as good for black because I already have the extension and you can't really threaten this stone here. That trading this with this is generally a bad trade for black because black doesn't really get anything out of this and white gets more corner territory. That's a regular Joseki. However, this is the correct move here. And then you might just do this, honestly. Because if I do this, you can just kind of like... well, I don't know if you can actually kill this. You might not be able to, so that might not be a good idea. But at least you can do like either this or... And if I don't answer, if I do this, you can just like... You can do this at this point and then sort of threaten this group because it's alive, but then you can just do like I think like this, and you can see how you're building up this right here. This corner is big. Don't get me wrong. This corner is big, but not big enough right now. So this was wrong. Letting me get this move kind of breaks your influence. And of course, I'm just going to do that. I probably should have just done this or something, but just going to repair myself here. And now you can see like your shapes flatten out quite a bit here by that exchange. That's fine. Coming up here, I don't actually know what the biggest move is here. I would guess this is probably the biggest move right now. But I wanted to break this shape a little bit more and put more pressure on these stones. It's not a good move by me. That gives you an... I just wanted more territory, but the thing is, after you finish doing like this, there are moves, forcing moves like this, where you can actually build your influence and get some territory out here. So this is a good move. I probably should have just ignored this, but like reflexively, I just do this because even if I let you Hane here, it's Atari here, it's not really that big of a deal. So I extended, but now since you extend, you can't have the Hane. So if you do this, I'm just gonna Tiger's Mouth. So obviously, I'm going to jump up here to put more pressure on these three stones. Now, the thing I was talking about is you can do this. you would actually disconnect these 3 stones. But right now it's pretty damaging because you're kind of sacrificing that stone. I would probably do this at this point just to get more territory. Your group's not that strong, but I'm already separated out as well. So there is always that play for black, I mean. So I don't really like, I did this because if you trade here, you wouldn't do this because of that, but like if you trade here, and then you do this, this actually might be a little bit of a problem for me. You wouldn't do this because then that's kind of like screwed. I mean, yeah, I guess that wouldn't work right now, but you could just cut this. You could honestly just cut this and do this, because my 3 stones aren't that strong right now. I don't know. I don't really know if that's beneficial for black though. So, but doing this is a loss for black because that lets me get this territory in here. That's a pretty big move. But I think this is actually more important right now because it does actually put pressure on these 3 stones. And it does let me get a couple more moves over here in as well. This is also very big because if you cover this, you have the option to play something like d9 later. That's just a weird invasion. It's not a bad one. I think I would, if I was black, I would have just done this. Because think about it, if you actually play the way you did, also you can do this at this point. Because then I wouldn't have the free Hane. And actually that probably wouldn't work right. I wouldn't have the free Hane at this point. But if you just play this way, you give me like, basically like, this is where the game really turns, by the way. This corner invasion is where the game really turns. You basically just gave me the entire corner. So when I actually invade here, if I was black, I automatically do this. These 2 stones really aren't in danger, and now black has just created a weak stone for himself. I mean, white has just created a weak stone for himself. So like if you're not able to kill this stone, which you might not be able to, you just do the best thing for yourself. Like here, you're just giving me the territory. But if you actually do this, I don't really get anything. I probably would just ignore this right now and play something else because there's not really a good way to play this. Like, I don't really want to play that, you know? So like, just deny me. What I would do is I would just deny white the corner. Also, at this point, you can just play like this. You still get the corner, and then you can jump out if you want. So you could also play like that. Because like the way you played, that's like this is the worst outcome you can have for black because you get this territory, but the territory doesn't mean anything because you can't really threaten me, and I get the huge corner points. By the way, this is massively big. Like these Hanes are massively big right now. I'm just getting a lot of the endgame points. This is very, very big. This is very, very big because now if you cut these stones off, it doesn't really matter because I have the extension. Generally, like you don't want to do this because like if you don't do that, like stuff like this might have some threat later. Whereas if you push this, like this move doesn't exist anymore. Like, because if you don't do this, like, you can do something like this, and it's kind of hard for white to answer, right? That is, like, a really bitchy move for me to answer. I would probably do this, but remember, you have options like this. You actually do have options to do, like, crazy stuff, like some stuff like this later on. I don't think it would actually work right now. But there's actually a lot of Aji here if you don't do this, and doing this just basically destroys all the Aji. So that's why it's not very good for black. This is massively big. Like I said, this is why I played it. I think it's the biggest move on the board. Come out here. This is a mistake by me, obviously. This is obviously a mistake by me. I have to connect that. This, you should definitely just do this. I mean, this isn't really that important. There's a couple, like 4 or 5 points here, but I do actually believe, and if I jump here, you don't even have to answer. I do actually believe that this is bigger. I do believe down there is actually bigger. So if you do this, you let me retreat. Now, like, I get this extension here, and I get this bottom territory here. I'm gonna do that. I don't think this was under threat, but I just wanted to make sure it doesn't die. That's kind of an empty move. There's not much territory here. I mean, white can always just do this. But I just feel like that's bigger right now. Then that, and then jumping up is just bigger. Because in the end, you only got 14 or 15 points here. I just fixed that breakdown there. That was the point of that move. In the end, you only got 14 or 15 points, and you spent a lot of moves. And you also sacrificed, like, this move, you sacrificed this, and a lot of these ending moves. So it really wasn't worth it in the end. I mean, in the end, the value of my stones just became a lot bigger than the value of his stones. And the rest of these are just closing moves. So basically, like, determining point value, missing things like this down here, and not understanding the starting Joseki is what actually was the difference in the game. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button, and I will be back maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. I'll see you.